Hi, everyone. I'm Ritika, and I'm joined today by Jacob, Evan, and Ruchi, some of our amazing paid media minds here at Cardinal. And we're going to be talking about what Google's AI-first strategy means for healthcare today. So I genuinely have a question for you guys. You're Google paid search veterans in the space, and it's been drilled in your heads: keyword, long tail, short tail, match types, and now we're pivoting fully to AI-driven, AI-led paid search. Are you guys nervous?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I think it's more and more you always have to take everything with a grain of salt with what Google recommends, but things have been evolving for over a decade, right? If you go
Sure.
back in time, it was manual CPC is the bidding
Mm-hmm.
strategy, and you're literally raising the prices on each keyword. Those have been long dead in
Mm-hmm.
our view, and smart bidding is kind of what we've been accustomed to lately. So I think more and more it's just kind of not are we worried about it so much as like, are you doing it enough to stay on top of the
And
cutting
get ahead.
edge? That's right.
Yeah. So, which patient intent signals matter the most now, and how will you source and govern them?
It's a good question. I think, when we look at Google now, it's less about this very granular roster of hyper specific keywords and tons of little details,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's more about sculpting how kind of the theme of where you're capturing of what kind of things the user is
All
looking
intent.
for.
Yeah.
It's intent. You're
Mm-hmm.
and bringing in additional signals. One of the biggest that I know we'll talk about more is conversion signals is kind of one of the most important and powerful. And then really it's all about, I think, leveraging these tools to make sure you're setting up these areas for them to work correctly in.
Okay. So, Jacob, how do you brief the teams to optimize for model inputs rather than match types without losing any clinical accuracy or compliance?
Yeah, I think we're set up in a really good spot where we're already doing a lot of value-based bidding modeling. We are using these audiences rather than just keyword focused. And I think where Google is heading is, you know, the value is going to be in how qualified our conversions are that we're passing back, that we're telling the campaigns to go get more of. And I think that, with our partners, we're already in that mode of, very high quality conversion signals.
Ruchi, if Google prioritizes AI signals over explicit keywords, how do you look to evaluate quality in healthcare, and how do you defend it?
I think Evan touched on it briefly just like 2 minutes ago. It is about the conversion signals, right? I think we, as an agency, are way past the concept of just talking about leads. The idea is whatever we are doing on the digital marketing side, is it driving patients, right? Are we actually seeing bookings happening? Are they from new or existing patients? Are these patients actually showing up and generating revenue for the business or not? And that has to be the main KPI that we are tracking as Google shifts towards AI. Even if you look at a lot of the different products that they've rolled out in the last few years, they have all been around not just capturing the user who's explicitly searching for us, but more about identifying somebody who could be in market, who could be thinking about us, who we can remind that they need to be booking this dental appointment or looking for a specific kind of care. So I think at the end of the day, as Google is making the shift from explicit keywords to signals, we need to have a very strong tech stack that helps us understand what campaigns, what strategies, what audiences, and what match types are working. And that is how we defend our work. That as long as the numbers are supporting our strategies, I think we have a strong case to make.
As it's been the theme of scaling up, measurement is key.
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly it.
Jacob, what are the key risks healthcare organizations should consider when adopting AI for media campaigns, especially in patient acquisition?
I think you run the risk of, teaching these models off of, too shallow of conversion signals. If they're not deep enough, then you can get a lot of unqualified leads come in the door. So I would avoid training it with poor data or insufficient number of conversions. Like Performance Max, they suggest 60 conversions in the last 30 days. which can be, significant, especially in some of these verticals. And one other thing I would watch out for is, the AI tools developing a demographic bias. It can sort of find one type of user that is converting well and shift all the focus to that. So constantly reviewing demographic reports, what our actual converters look like, to make sure that we're not feeding that bias.
You're being very meticulous when you're looking through all the data almost on a daily basis now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ruchi, so how does AI-driven media like Google's Performance Max change the way healthcare organizations approach patient acquisition?
So again, like if you think about it, like the entire idea of Performance Max is Google has this black box of data that we do not have access to, but from the user's search history, from the profile that they are building over time, from the kind of searches that they made in the past, from the kind of content they've been consuming on the web. Google knows it best who to go after if we tell them exactly what we are looking for, right? So if I have the best conversion signals in place, Performance Max can become a beautiful product that complements our search strategy. And again, I think every once in a while a marketer will come across the question of I need to drive more patients for my business, for my client's business, and we are not seeing enough impressions, we are not seeing enough search demand. So the question then becomes, what are the new products that you can tap into? Are there any non-traditional keywords that I would want to tap into that, if I were just going 10 years back when it was all about manual CPC and search terms, I wouldn't be bidding on. So with that, I think this is the big drive that Google is bringing in with AI Max for search, for Performance Max. Even if you think about AI Max for search, some of the most interesting features it's bringing up is expanding your geo-targeting. I am based in Atlanta, and traditionally I want to bid on users who are within a driving space. What Google is telling you now is, let me find you users who are probably not in your geo, but we from our black box of data can tell you they have a very high likelihood to convert. So again, a lot of these insights, if you think about it, is more about the user profile rather than just the search intent. And I think that is what organizations, specifically healthcare organizations, where our capabilities with marketing are so restricted, should be focused on.
Perfect. Evan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think she covered it well.
Perfect. So where has AI created real operation efficiency in your funnel, and where has it added overhead?
It's a good question. I don't know, overhead is probably not, the right phrase so much as, now we have new things to learn so we can better leverage AI. So, I mean, if we talk about within the Google platform, definitely you don't have to be, we think of, you're going to hear us talk about conversions probably 400 more times in this short
Conversion
session.
signals.
And I'll just say it now, just to say that if anyone here is listening and needs to hear this, is that conversion signals and the depth of conversion signals, like not just did you submit a lead, but cool, then they were verified by a person on your team, or they attended a consultation or something. Those signals are the most important thing that you can have, and is going to be the most impactful stuff that you can use going forward. So from that perspective, we think of conversions as kind of like a safety net, right? I'm using a signal, I'm telling the system I'm only interested in not just someone, a bot even filling out a form, but someone who's been verified by a human and is attending a consultation. That safety net allows you to not put as many keywords in, right? So you could have, fewer keyword build outs, use broad match, use AI Max as Ruchi mentioned, and let the system explore for you, because it's only going to go after something that is verified and efficient, right? So that is the major summary of how it's improving efficiency. I think budget pacing as well. You can start to share budgets and use portfolio bid strategies with these conversion signals and let the system deliver you the best aggregate output. Outside of that, I would say, there's obviously tools beyond Google, like ChatGPT and all your different models that can help you rapidly create ad copy, right? And I will say one last thing that is not yet in Google, but is coming, is Gemini-based in Google Ads
Mhm.
platform video AI creative support. So there's going to be in the platform, it'll help you generate AI based videos, which is going to accelerate creative as well. So it's all,
Amazing.
it's daunting. It's a lot of stuff, but it's all kind of going to help us all move quicker and with more purpose, I think.
And it's one after the other. You can barely catch your breath before the next update comes
Correct.
through.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Ruchi, what role does creative asset quality play in AI campaigns? And how should healthcare organizations approach creative strategy, given also the update that Evan
Right.
just shared with us?
Yep. I think the main point is we are in healthcare, right? We are not selling cruises. We are not selling holiday packages. It's not e-com. This is a very sensitive space to be in. This is a parent probably looking for help for their child. This is probably a person looking for, a life-threatening, looking for help for a life-threatening condition. There is so much sensitivity around this. Building trust is super, super important, and establishing that we know what we are doing, we care about you, we provide compassionate care. That is how you beat competition, right? If you think about all of these AI driven products, creative is such a big piece, because again, to my earlier point, these users may or may not be searching for us. Google knows that for some reason, based on their data, this person is maybe interested in our services, and we have one opportunity to show them what we can truly bring to the table and how we can make a difference in their lives. All of that said, it is super, super important that we have the right messaging. We have the right messaging across the board, not just in our ads, not just on our landing page, but right from the first time a patient gets acquainted with our name till to the point where they are speaking with somebody in the call center and meeting the provider in the particular office. When you are not providing Performance Max the right assets, because it is so AI driven, it is going to automatically generate assets for you, and it's going to decide how the users perceive your brand, right? And the last thing you want to do is leave like a bad impression right in the first interaction. So I think it's super, super important we make sure that the creative alignment is there in an AI driven product. The other part to remember is most of the searches are happening on our phones. We have data backed on this, like 70 to 80% for almost every account that we are running, the traffic is coming from mobile devices. It's even more important to make sure that the content is being consumed in a way where it is user friendly, where it does not feel like it was forced onto you into a different experience you were trying to have, on a blog or, in Gmail, whatever platform we are serving on. So just ensuring that it's not just about the content, it's also about the right placement of the content is super important here. So I think these are the things we would focus on if you're using an AI driven product that serves on video and display.
Perfect. And Jacob, how do you tune AI towards capacity realities by location or specialty, so you scale where your clinics can actually serve new patients?
Yeah. So I think it all starts with our traditional, campaign architecture, infusing as much granularity as you can, and then using shared budgets so that they learn against each other. For example, a campaign at the clinic and service line level. So you have that granularity to manage budgets, and then using tools like Target CPA and Target ROAS to sort of put brakes on the spend on certain clinics that maybe don't need as much capacity, and then that will help push budget towards clinics with more need. And so rather than a manual process, trying to work with the campaigns and show it where it needs the most need.
And Evan, you alluded to this earlier, but Jacob, this question's for you. How can healthcare organizations balance AI optimization with external channel diversification, like programmatic ads, CTV, all of the above, outside of the Google universe?
Yeah. No, I do think we need to first use the Google ecosystem. That is where you're going to maximize your budget efficiency, not just on the traditional search campaigns. Those are pretty saturated with competitors, but branching out into Performance Max and using AI Max in our non-brand campaigns as well. And then once we, have that sort of base and we can kind of see what our capacity is for those campaigns, that's when we look for external channels. And I do think programmatic is very important because it lives in its own ecosystem. It doesn't run on Google inventory. And so really if you're not running programmatic, you're missing out on all of that inventory that allows pretty detailed third-party audiences, and it hits people where they are, not necessarily the specific channel.
So helping bring awareness, utilizing top of funnel tactics to then utilize your search and all the AI optimizations you're now going to be doing in Google to capture the end conversion.
Exactly. I think it's a balance, and if you're doing one without the other, you're missing a large audience.
And Evan, what is your stance on creative control? You just talked about creative. So when Google is auto-generating these assets and placements that historically lived on programmatic channels, what's your stance on it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd also add to the previous, question that we had talking about kind of programmatic and how it, compares that Google is expanding into that territory, right? So they've got YouTube TV, they've got now premium CTV inventory. These are kind of betas you can get access into, and of course traditional YouTube. And so more and more Google's going to have this stuff as well, right? With the additional benefits that Google itself can provide, right? Like connecting your whole tech stack, including search, as a and that's important with then creative control, because now you've got more and more tools to use creative on different inventory types. And so I think Ruchi touched on this before, right? I think it's important, right? AI is coming whether we want it or not. It's here, but it's going to keep increasing, right? So, the question is not if, but when and how good are you at it right now? And so using AI to help you generate auto assets and different types of placements. We see this in responsive display ads on GDN, has been there forever, Performance Max. They kind of have these kind of adjustments. They make all these formats for you, and it's only going to increase. So it is important, as Ruchi mentioned, that you kind of the seed information you feed into the system is correct for the targeting. It's sensitive to information and the type of messaging you should be providing. And then you're viewing potential asset creation that the AI is going to spit out for you in advance to kind of retain that quality control. But overall, I mean, the main thing is how, be cautious, but use it to help you move a lot faster and get into markets where before it's like, well, I can't run ads on CTV because I don't have a good video. It's like now it's like you should be running them next month, right? Because you can do that. You should be doing that, right?
So your prompts are only as smart as the user.
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. All right. So Ruchi, how do you structure an incrementality test that isolates AI value across geos or service lines while protecting in-market performance?
That's a really good question, Ritika, and it's a problem we come across every once in a while, be it a new client that we are onboarding or an existing one. The one thing that they come up with is, hey, I'm okay to, let's try it, but we cannot let patient volume suffer this month. And again, completely understand, right? They're running a business here. Revenue is super important. It kind of builds a momentum and nobody wants to break it. But you are losing out on so much value by not testing into these products. And it is not a one-size-fits-all approach. What could work for one ABA client could easily not work for another because of geos, brand recognition, a lot of different factors that go into ultimately acquiring a patient. So again, the answer is testing, right? You have to test and you have to find a budget for it. We have bigger clients that have the appetite for it, but every once in a while, we will come across some of the smaller ones where we absolutely try to only use a very specific amount of the budget to test into these tactics. And it's done in the right way, right? You go for a proper 50% split in traffic, you do an A/B experiment. And the best part is, as Google is rolling out all of these AI-driven products, it's making it so much easier to understand the value that they are driving. Just to give you two examples, AI Max for search. Again, I'm a skeptic. I am not very much into, hey, let's just roll it out and let's let Google spend all our money. It's more about, let's create an A/B test. Let's see how conversion rates are looking, how my ultimate cost per booking is looking for the control group versus the test group. Same thing for Performance Max, right? Like when Performance Max was initially launched, again, I think everybody experienced it where the CPL was great and everybody was complaining about spam leads. The product has evolved now and we see it as an integral part of our strategy. What is even more cool is the different kind of experiments we have in Performance Max now. You can run an uplift experiment. You can understand the actual value PMax is driving outside of just the cost per booking. Like, is it complementing my search campaign? Is there a bigger impact that is happening on demand gen and other campaign types? Same thing about PMax feature testing, right? Evan mentioned about how AI creatives is obviously becoming a very integral part of Google's product offerings. I traditionally like to stick with the videos and images that our clients are providing us, but is there more opportunity to test into creatives being dynamically generated by scanning through the landing page and the content we are giving PMax, and maybe that does help improve our CTR and conversion rates over time. So again, the idea is let's test it out, do it with a small budget, do it in the right way, stay away from before after test, find the right way of launching the test, measuring it, ensure you're giving your product a good amount of time. Don't roll back a test in 7 days. It does take 7 to 14 days for the campaigns to settle in, for them to start showing the numbers and truly, giving us insights into whether this is working or not. So again, there is a small risk associated with this to current performance, but if anything, it just opens up broader opportunities for our clients.
And Evan, what criteria decides adopt now versus wait for new AI features in healthcare media?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think all of us, I have a bit of an old soul, so I was more resistant to some of the kind of evolutions of the Google. Google, again, like we talked about, it was different a decade ago, it was different 5 years ago.
I think as a
And
marketer, it's fair to be skeptic because is Google just
that's
taking our
right.
money or not?
That's right. And then if you get involved with Google reps on your accounts, they can often be kind of pushy without being strategic. They just want you to check a box that you've implemented something. So a lot of that is in play, but more and more now it's just kind of like wait versus apply now. I think we're shifting more into the apply now, but do it in a risk-averse testing structure. So you're limiting the amount of budget, you're confident and you understand how this AI product is going to work. Again, Performance Max, AI Max, and broad match keywords are the big ones in this category right now in Google. And really just understanding how these settings work, what you expect out of it, isolating it and monitoring it. But you ought to be doing it now is the answer. Then
2026.
Yeah, even 2026 is likely to or
late.
mid 26. You're kind of already behind.
Yep.
So you should start.
So we're going to move into some final thoughts here. We're towards the end. So Evan, last question for you. As AI continues to evolve, what should healthcare marketers prioritize to ensure they're not left behind in this fast-moving landscape?
What should they prioritize to make sure they're not behind? So we just kind of touched on it, right? Like be doing the tests. Google is going to continue to roll out new products and you ought to be testing it. If anything is taken away from this discussion we're having, we touched on it a lot already, it is conversions. The most important thing you should be doing is making sure your CRM, the system, and the conversion actions, your ideally offline uploads sending back into Google are organized and clear and have different levels of quality. And the more you have that, you've set yourself up for success, right? So I would say the number one thing that anyone should prioritize to leverage AI correctly, it is telling the system what you need them to go get, right?
Absolutely. And Jacob, in a world where AI and automation dominate, how can healthcare marketers strike the right balance between innovation and human touch?
What we've seen is that, AI-driven products work best when they're founded with, strong human-provided creative and conversion signals. Of course, compliant, but the better the conversion signal, the better the end result, and it allows you to get that volume to actually fully utilize these AI products. On its own, I think AI campaigns will generate lots of volume, but it's on us to make sure that they're generating the right types of conversions at the end of the day and at the right price point.
And Ruchi, we know how much AI is transforming patient acquisition. We've heard about it in the past 2 days now. So what would you say, what should be the next big move for healthcare marketers to stay ahead?
Agility. I think you have to be agile in this industry. Like Google is changing its policies very quickly, right? We loved broad match and then we did not, and now we are coming back to broad match. It's an ever-changing stand because Google's algorithm is updating. So we have to be skeptical to a certain extent. I wouldn't say buy into everything that Google is rolling out, but we have to have a very testing mindset and be open to adapting change. I think the other thing that in general, like the next move, like the big move is, and again, like it depends on where you are in your tech stack journey, but please invest into your tech stack. Make sure that you have the right tools to analyze your calls. Make sure that you have a strong call center who is equipped to convert these leads. Make sure your CRM is clean. Invest in making sure that your CRM can actually give you the insights that help you understand what is working, what is not. So I think these are the two big things that healthcare marketers need to stay ahead of and make sure they just have the data that tells them what is working, what is not.
That's all the time we have today, guys. Evan, Ruchi, Jacob, I would like to say thank you. And thank you everyone for attending Scaling Up today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye all.
Thank you.